What happened to the two men who vanished after claiming they were meeting with aliens in the California desert? How did a routine flight to pick up crawfish turn into one of Australia's most baffling aviation mysteries? Did Granger Taylor really embark on a 42-month interstellar voyage? Today, we test the believability of Mysterious Disappearances, Volume 1.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual.
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
That is right. It is Tuesday. I'm so excited. It's a new category of a new list of new stories.
Another new volume.
New volumes. We're just filling up your
Bookshelves.
your mental audio library bookshelf.
Your mind palace of bookshelves.
Sometimes when I put my hands like little cups like this, I feel like I'm a Grand Theft Auto San Andreas character. You know what
I
mean?
guess so.
It's like your finger.
You're not really rendered all the way, yeah.
Not all the way. So we appreciate you guys listening. Quick shout out to our newest patrons, Sydney and Leah. We see you. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining our Patreon, supporting the podcast. It goes a long way.
It's a whole new community for you.
A whole new community that we're
whole
building.
new world.
And we appreciate you and everyone supporting the podcast. Even you right now who's listening. It means a lot to us. But yes, this is Mysterious Disappearances. This was going to be not what this is.
What?
Like I was imagining, like kind of like you thought, because I'll just say this, speaking of Patreon, there's a quiz attached to this episode.
There is.
I quizzed Charlie about this episode and you had no idea about it. And it was a lot of
I didn't
fun.
know anything about it.
But I went into this thinking it was going to be more like people vanishing in forests and stuff like that.
It's like disappearing.
But it lended itself to a lot of true crime. And I don't know how you guys feel about true crime. Let us know how you feel about true crime.
I mean, I like it.
There's times that Believing the Bizarre can do true crime. We've done it in the past.
Yeah.
I would say
times.
The Man from Torrid was kind of it.
Kinda.
I would say the Rutenberg Cannibal.
I say very
obviously.
much, yeah.
So let us know what you guys think. I try to stay away from like a really unique and interesting disappearance, and the body was found. They were strangled and bloody, but we don't know who did it. You know,
Yeah, it's like that's still a good mystery, but like
I like that stuff too, even though I don't really listen to true crime all that much. But we want to be putting the stuff that you guys like. So let us know on this episode. If you're listening on Spotify, comment with your thoughts on us doing every now and then something bizarre in the true crime world. But that's not this. This is not true crime. This is strange and weird and unusual, the way y'all want it, the way we like it, and the way it's going to
that's what
be.
we're used to.
Sources include Ranker, Historic Flicks, Mysterious Universe, CBC, Times Colonists, Unsolved Mysteries,
Oh man,
and
there's
YouTube.
like the big three on here. That's pretty good.
I got 3 stories, 3 disappearances. Let's see if we can. Oh, this also. Let me just say, we're not solving any cases here.
No,
We're not gonna. I mean, we might pitch a new theory.
for sure, but I don't think the detectives would be ill-advised to ask us to say anything further.
I left my fedora at home, so we're just gonna
Right.
we're just gonna go off this and get into our 3 stories. So our first story involves Frederick Valentich, aka Fred.
All
Those
right,
closest to him called him Fred. I
Fred.
think.
Oh, I had a bully in high school named Fred.
Kick his ass.
No,
But he doesn't have a podcast.
he does not. No, he does
Not
not.
that you know of.
Oh my god, I watched this like one of the top podcasts.
Derek from Monsters Among Us. His name's not Fred.
No.
So he grew up in Avondale Heights, which is a suburb of Melbourne, Australia. We're taking place in Australia.
Okay.
here.
All right.
Just a little quick background on our friend Fred. He was born in 1958, was very close to his parents, and always dreamed of being a pilot. His parents were very supportive. Oh, that's another through line, and it was not intentional. Most of these involve like planes and flying.
You know what though? Because aliens like planes and flying.
But these weren't even supposed to be about aliens. This
You're
is
right,
about
yeah.
vanishing.
Weird stuff happens in the sky when you get above 10 feet. Strange things happen.
It was supposed to be about people vanishing, and it turned into people who like flying and aliens.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Anyway, Fred's parents were very supportive of him, despite Fred not doing too well in school. But he still worked hard and became a pilot despite failing commercial license examinations twice. He studied hard and never missed any classes. Maybe he's just a poor test taker.
That could be.
I don't know. Where there's a will, there's a way. As long as you're not colorblind, apparently, when it comes to being a pilot, I suppose. I hope there's at least a few of you out there that are listening while flying. Just knowing that there's people that keep failing tests, but they get to fly.
That'd be really cool. If he was like a pilot is just like listening.
He wasn't a commercial pilot though. This guy. He could fly a plane, but not with other people paying.
Right.
Checking their bags.
They're always tall too. That's the thing.
Handsome,
pilots
tall, handsome, good jawlines. So apparently, Fred attempted to enlist in the Royal Australian Air Force in the past, but was rejected because he didn't have the right qualifications.
That's interesting.
So beyond having just a great relationship with his parents, Fred was 20 years old in 1978, and he had a girlfriend, Rhonda. And in late October, they made plans to celebrate their 6-month anniversary on Saturday, October 21st, which I believe, if it was around then, it would have been Sweetest Day. I think the United States is really the only ones. I don't think they have that, yeah. I don't think they had it yet, and I don't know how many...
September, I think it's October anyway.
That's what I said, October.
Oh, I thought you said
Saturday,
September.
October 21st.
I heard September. I think you're right. I think that would be...
It would be now, but probably not then. But they were celebrating 6 months anniversary.
That's nice.
So it wasn't a Hallmark holiday.
Yeah.
It was real to them. It was that, 6 months. You're getting serious
yeah.
after 6 months. However, before this exciting and romantic day, he had one quick flight to make on Friday, October 20th. He claimed that he had to fly to King Island to go pick up some crawfish.
He had to do a boil.
A little boil.
That's a little boil.
Nothing gonna make Rhonda think I like her.
I would love to try crawfish. I've never had them. I'd love to try them.
That was my Australian draw. I'm sure he wasn't flying to the local CVS to pick up some chocolates.
Oi, Rhonda.
One of those magnetic kissing bear. That is still British, my friend.
No, it's not. It's Australian.
I don't think so.
Oi, Rhonda.
That's better.
Need to go.
You gotta have
get some crawfish, eh? That's pretty British right there.
So either way, the flight was intended to be quick. Just a little crawfish heist.
Sure.
You know how that goes.
Steal them.
And so it was supposed to be quick. He was going to come back and enjoy that Saturday with Rhonda. They're going to celebrate their 6-month anniversary like adults. So on the morning of October 20th, Fred did his usual routine, and then he left for work, attended classes at the airport until 5, and as soon as the lectures were over, he submitted his flight plan. Strangely, though, Fred told the airport that he was going to pick up passengers on King Island, which is different than what he said to Rhonda.
He's picking up passengers. About 150 little passengers.
Little lobster-looking dudes.
Yeah.
I don't know. That is one detail I don't really like, because either it sounds like something else was going on.
Yeah.
That's one of those details where it's like we're hearing two sides already, and the weird stuff hasn't even happened yet. So the flight was supposed to just last 1 hour, very short flight, and Fred was taking a Cessna 182L. And do you know what that is? So I'm going to show you what that is. It's one of those guys. Charlie, can you describe the video for our audience?
Yeah, that looks like, if you think of like an airplane out of like the 60s, it's got like one of the front propellers. It's like a biplane, except only one, a single plane, a singular propeller plane.
Yeah, it's just a little guy. It's 4 seats, single engine airplane.
Yeah.
It's small. It's just a small little guy.
Yeah.
They don't trust him with the commercials. He's not in JetBlue. He could probably drive Spirit. He could probably do Spirit.
JetBlue's not great either.
So, as poor of a pilot as Fred was, in the examination rooms, the route to King Island was familiar to him. He's been there before. He was very confident. He's successfully flown this in the past. So this isn't uncharted territory for him. This isn't unusual. This is kind of like it was treated like a quick stop. It'd be like, for us, like, hey, we're celebrating our anniversary tomorrow, but I got to go drive to, maybe not quite that casual, but there was nothing intensive about this. There was one thing though. Fred would be making the trip in the evening time. So it's October. Okay. And it's past 5. So the sun's gonna be going down.
Well, is it though? Because Australia's in the southern hemisphere, and
they're saying it's dark.
Okay,
I'm not gonna battle with you on this because I can't talk about weather happenings in Australia. But
I'm just saying. That's around the time their spring is. Because
so it's different than it'd be summer and winter. Because if it's winter here, it's summer there, then they have the long days. But spring and fall are pretty similar.
That's what I'm thinking too.
So if you think April or March, it still gets dark by like 8.
Yeah.
It's not like pitch black at 5:30, 4:30 like here. Regardless, His family acknowledged, they spoke to his family, and apparently Fred admitted that he's uncomfortable flying at night or over water, especially during poor light conditions.
Okay.
But it wasn't like foggy or anything like that. It was going to be a clear night. A night,
Yeah.
So Fred's plane was fueled, and he contacted the flight service officer on duty that evening, who was Steve Roby. And Fred was cleared for takeoff and got up in the air at 6:19 p.m. The two spoke over the radio at 7 p.m. when he passed Cape Otway exactly around 7. According to Roby, everything seemed fine with Fred and his plane, and he was on schedule. So everything was going smoothly, and Roby expected him to report back once he landed. However, Fred contacted Roby just 6 minutes later, 45 minutes in the flight, and the reason for this report was incredibly odd to Roby. Fred wanted him to know that a large aircraft had been flying near him. And here's a quote from Historic Flicks. Quote, "Since it had 4 lights and was going unusually fast, the young pilot asked the flight service officer if it was the Air Force. Roby was puzzled because, according to his data, no aircraft was near Fred or his flight route. Roby later confirmed that Fred sounded nervous, but not scared as he shared more details with him. Fred said the mysterious craft was about 1,000 feet above his own airplane and had a long shape. Furthermore, the object had a slight greenish glow and was made of a shiny, metallic-looking material." Unquote. What do you think, Charlie?
I'm unfamiliar with this shape.
Sounds kind of like a cigar, right? Long.
It does, but the greenish material is interesting.
Well, it has a greenish glow.
Okay.
The material is metal. It's shiny. It's a typical shiny, long ship, but it's greenish glow.
We don't often see cigar shapes close. We don't often hear about close cigar shapes.
That's true.
Yeah.
I would not want to see one. I want the disc or bust.
I'd love to see the cigar shape. I would tell it in person, like, "You look like a poop."
You would not say
No,
that.
I would not. I'd be like, "Oh my god, it's an alien. It's aliens."
It's
oh
like
my
when
god.
you see a celebrity, you don't think about what you'd want to say in that moment. It's later
Yeah.
on, you're like, I should have told me it looked like shit.
Yeah, but
Next time.
for real though, like that would be pretty terrifying in that moment. You're in your small little plane. There's 4 seats. You're in one of them.
You don't have any crawfish yet to distract you.
All right.
If you're even getting crawfish, Fred. So to make matters worse, Fred's airplane started rumbling and shaking, and he knew that he was having engine problems. So he decided to make another report. Fred's last contact with the airport was 7:12 p.m. In the final moments, Fred told them that the flying object was hovering over his plane, and he was certain that it was not a traditional aircraft. So it's right above him right now.
Yeah.
Stunned, Roby had no idea what Fred could have been witnessing. Even creepier, Fred's final radio call was followed by 17 seconds of an unknown metallic sound and then just silence. Roby was terrified and constantly huddled by his radio, hoping to receive a call or some type of confirmation from Fred, desperately praying that he made it to King Island and landed. 7:30 came and went, which was about the time that Fred was supposed to land. So then 15 minutes later at 7:45, Roby contacted the airport himself and let them know what had transpired in the last 30 minutes. So here's another quote from Historic Flicks. Quote, "At 8 p.m., 2 airplanes from King Island Airport searched the area around the island. The weather remained clear, so if there was anything in the water, the pilots would have seen it. They were flying at 1,000 feet, which was easily enough to spot the wreckage. The visibility was exceptional as the pilots could see Cape Otway in the distance, but there was nothing. Meanwhile, in Melbourne, Fred's parents were getting worried. It was late and their son still wasn't back home. His father heard the news that a plane went missing over the water, and he knew that it was Fred." I'm assuming, this is not funny, I'm assuming that's a father's intuition and not a jab at his bad flying skills. There's a plane.
Probably.
That sounds like Fred. God damn it.
Should have studied more.
So several hours later, police officers appeared at their door, informing Fred's parents that his plane had went down. The extensive search lasted 4 days and involved 8 ships, a surveillance plane, and 8 civilian aircrafts. But it was eventually called off a few days later on October 25th.
The cop showed up. His dad was like, "Called it."
5 points to me, honey. Guess who's doing the dishes tonight? Not this guy. The only thing that they found was an oil slick, but it was determined that it was not from a plane.
So this thing just ate his airplane.
Sucked it up.
Just
Something. I don't know.
like a garbage disposal. Just took him in. Just,
I don't know the logistics of a plane crash in water, I don't know. Is there any way that it could crash so intensely that it all sinks? Or if it would break and they're guaranteed to have some pieces floating?
I have no idea.
All the crawfish took the wheel. They're taking it. We're going home, boys.
They're like in a trench coat. Oh, yeah, that is tomorrow, Independence Day.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for the...
Yeah.
He didn't get the crawfish yet, though, so they weren't in there. It was just him.
They would have took over.
So investigators looked into Fred's past and questioned his inability to pass exams as a possible explanation for any errors that may have occurred while flying. Although apparently his teacher insisted that Fred was diligent, a very hardworking student, and eager to learn. Which I don't know if that has anything to do with him not failing. But it's nice he's putting his neck out there.
It's good that he's like, he tries real hard.
There's no name attached to it, but he stuck by him. Additionally, without any wreckage, they theorized that he was actually just trying to escape, that the whole thing was a ruse, and he was trying to leave his current life behind. To support his claim, the Department of Transport quoted fake reasons for flying out to King Island on the night of the disappearance. There were no passengers waiting for him or crawfish that needed to be transported to the mainland.
No passengers or crawfish?
Yeah.
He was going to go hunt him himself.
I'm going to catch him right here. Real quick before I come back in an hour.
Right.
Yeah, that's
weird.
That's where it gets fishy because he said two different things and apparently both of them were not true.
What if he got a message from an alien the night before? Right, in his mind. He's like, go out to King's Island.
You like your life, bro?
He's like, why?
No.
They're like, just do it. Ooh, that's scary, actually.
Well, but if he would have anticipated it, would he have called in about the thing flying above him?
No.
So I don't think that was it then, right?
Probably not. I mean, logically, no.
I like the theory. Regardless, the idea of him escaping life, Fred's family wasn't convinced. Fred's parents and siblings continued to disbelieve this theory as they thought if any pilot wanted to disappear, he wouldn't do it with a plane.
What?
Because it's really hard to hide an aircraft.
I guess so, okay.
Once his final messages were revealed and it was known that Fred may have been referencing a UFO in his reports, the media dove into the story even more, obviously. It's like, plane missing, that's juicy, but you talk about UFO, it's like, oh, let's go. Investigators looked into Fred's life and questioned his family and Rhonda, his girlfriend. She said that they had recently watched a few sci-fi movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Star Wars. He started collecting news clippings about space exploration, but Rhonda dismissed that he may have been obsessed with the topics of aliens or UFOs. And in agreement with Rhonda, many of Fred's friends said they never brought up extraterrestrial life or flying saucers. Regardless, the disappearance of Fred is certainly a mystery, whether aliens were the cause or not.
Do we have a recording of the 17 seconds?
No, they didn't release that.
That sucks.
No,
that'd be awesome to put on this.
But that is Fred's story. So a little bit of deceit in what he's doing.
That's the weirdest part.
I think he was going to CVS. I think he was getting some chocolates for Saturday and a long ass receipt.
But why would you fly though?
Maybe in Australia they don't have them on every corner like we do here.
They have them on King's Island only.
You really got to get the chocolates from the King Island CVS.
Yes. Or maybe there was something special on King's Island that really you could only get there.
That's true. I mean, I feel like they have the relationship where he could just say crawfish and she would believe him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else, but maybe there was something there he was trying to do.
I don't know. Maybe a shark or something.
I don't think he was trying to escape life.
No. Sounded like he had a pretty good one going on. He was a young kid. Girlfriend.
I mean, he's probably down about the flying thing. He was still able to fly.
Yeah.
But the instructor said he was, doing better and,
I mean, he could definitely progress at some point. It's not the end of the world for him.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's weird, though. It's weird. The lying thing is the biggest.
That's the most unusual detail outside of the aliens is what you expect listening to us, but it's unusual.
But okay, back to my theory about them convincing him to go there beforehand. Maybe he was not going to report it, and then he sees the ship, and he snaps out of it, and he's like, oh no, they're coming for me.
Like he was in a trance?
Yes. Yeah, what if he was in a trance?
There's nothing that points to that, but I like the theory.
Again, detectives should not talk to us about what actually happened. But
I think there was something he wanted on the island that he didn't want anyone else to know.
Yeah.
Whether it was for Rhonda or just himself, selfishly.
Or maybe it's something bad.
Or maybe it's going to... Do you have to order crawfish before you go pick them up? I don't know.
I think so. I don't think they just have those ready for you.
He's going to the Red Lobster at King's Island. He's really going for the biscuits, but he didn't want to say that.
Yeah, that went out of business.
All right, let's move on to story number 2. This involves Karl Hunrath from Racine. I'm assuming it's Racine, not Rackin. Racine, Wisconsin.
Cheese, Wisconsin? I'm not sure.
Aaron Rodgersville? Not anymore.
No.
Jordan Loveville, Lovetown, Love Shack.
Right.
So it was the early morning, July 22nd, 1952, and Karl had been comfortably sleeping when a bright, blinding light woke him from his sleep. He had a window in his room, so his initial thought was maybe it was just a car driving by or someone using his driveway to turn around. But once the disorienting sleepies wore off, Karl noticed that this blinding white light was not coming from outside his home. It was actually originating from inside his room.
Ooh, not good.
He rubbed his eyes, sat upright, and was shocked to see a bright floating ball of light in the corner of his room. Karl estimates that the ball had a diameter of about 4 feet. But his ass just woke up, so I don't trust that.
I like to think that he had a moment where he looked and he broke the fourth wall of his room. He was like, what?
That's so wild.
Yeah.
I don't. The most unbelievable thing so far is him estimating that's 4 feet. I don't trust it. I don't trust him. But I mean, you wake up and you see that he's in awe. He's shocked. But something even crazier happened. This ball of light started shifting and twisting, and right before his eyes, this strange ball of light transformed into a man standing in his room.
No.
It was a man that was well dressed in a black suit.
He had a suit on?
Black suit, double-breasted.
Bro.
Might not have been double-breasted.
You gotta ask him
it was
to leave.
Black.
That's scary.
It was in this moment that Karl's frozen nature became top of mind, because while he was in awe of the ball of light, he did feel a pang of fear upon seeing this man. Naturally, his flight response started going off. However, he discovered that he wasn't just scared stiff. His entire body was paralyzed. He could not move.
Okay, that negates my first reaction, which would be to grab my shotgun.
No, you're frozen. You're just there. Slowly, the man in black approached Karl. He pulled out some device or syringe and started pumping Karl's right arm full of some unknown type of chemicals. A few moments later, Karl entered what he claimed as an altered state of mind. The man in black told Karl that the man had been chosen to play a significant role on Earth, that the man was on a mission. Karl, at this point, was laying down, like he was kind of sinking into his bed, still frozen, but the effect of whatever had been injected in him was taking effect. It was taking over him.
Sunk in place.
The man leaned over Karl's body, his face growing closer to Karl's, and stated, quote, "I am Bosco. You have been chosen to enter our Brotherhood of Galaxies." Unquote. Sounds kind of dope, to be honest.
It's a good name.
Brotherhood, you like Brotherhood. This entity identified as Bosco continued, saying that the brothers were deeply worried about the warlike ways that humans were displaying on Earth. Action needed to be taken. People needed to be punished who were doing dastardly deeds against the human race. However, there were no major plans of destruction or death or anything like that. Rather, the Brotherhood was recruiting kind and sympathetic humans to aid in their righteous cause. And even in Karl's altered state, he took this as not like a genuine kind gesture, more of like, you want me to be the fall guy for a larger entity. You want me to do the dirty work while the Brotherhood lurks in the shadows, so to speak. Like, he's not buying in.
Good. That's smart.
The talk of peace and sympathy didn't really pass Karl's smell test.
Never does for me either.
Kind of turns out to be right. Before Karl's mind could race to other conclusions about what was going on, Bosco let him know what he'd been injected with. He told Karl that there were occult techniques that had been downloaded into his mind. The techniques would teach Karl how to build weapons that could destroy aircrafts, especially U.S. military aircrafts.
Especially.
Bosco told Karl that the Brotherhood viewed the U.S. military as dangerous to world peace. See, it's kind of going against this sympathetic, righteous, like, we're not trying to hurt anyone.
No, we never hurt anybody.
Just the military and other people that don't like what we like.
Yeah.
These guys would be bastards on social media. And then he leaned closer, and the alien's voice boomed as he said, "I am Bosco, and that will be its name too," in reference to the weapon. he wanted the weapon to be called Bosco as well.
Okay, so like I made a bomb. You call that bomb Charlie. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's kind of
That's kind of what he wants. He's like, name it after me, motherfucker.
That's weird.
With that, Bosco did an about face, and he headed for Carl's window, pulled back the curtains, climbed through the window, and then disappeared into the night.
I've got a theory already. But I'll wait till this is over.
Yeah, not the grandest exit, to be honest.
No.
He came in a ball of light, transformed into a human body, and then he's like, "Where's your window? Is there a screen? I really fucking hate screens."
Imagine
he's like, a screen. He's like 5 minutes of him taking the screen off. He's like, I'm just gonna rip it. I'll leave you $5. The Brotherhood, charge the Brotherhood. Put on the Brotherhood's tab. Almost immediately, Carl raced down to the police station.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like, you're gonna go say all this?
I would say there's a man in my house. That's probably where I'd stop. Yeah.
How'd he get there?
I don't know.
He came in window me. I don't know.
It's probably ripped.
He told the police everything that happened and then bluntly told them, by the way, there's no way that he would consider building the Bosco weapon and letting it loose on the world. And they're like, all right, cool. I love that he felt the need to tell the police the crazy story. Like the ball of lightning transforming into a man, but then feeling the need to finish it by reassuring them, like, I know that's wild, but trust me, I'm not going to build this thing.
It's like
you guys are safe.
Like I've never done this. I hope no one has done this, but like you're traveling back from a foreign country, you have drugs on you, and you go to the agent and you go, I definitely don't have any drugs on me.
Yeah, don't worry about drugs.
It's that same level of conspicuous to me.
But it's also silly. It's like, I'd be like, yeah, we weren't worried.
Yeah, like, you're not going to get a bomb.
I haven't believed a single thing you said, you know?
Yeah.
If I were the police, I may have looked at his arm.
Oh, yeah.
That would probably been,
like
kind of like the quick way to determine is this guy lying or not.
But even if
like, I already would have trouble believing him. Like, I know, you know, in the context of this podcast, but like, if I'm a police officer, I'd be like, okay, well, where were you injected? Can we see if it's even there? And it might not be there at this point.
Quick healing.
Yeah. It's just like I'm just trying to focus on what I'm having for dinner tonight, but I have all these occult techniques floating around in my head. How to build this the Bosco stick.
Bosco bomb.
It's just cheese everywhere.
Explodes marinara.
No, that's why I did this in Wisconsin. Yeah. He's like, I know who like this. I'm spreading peace, y'all. You need to stop fighting and eating more cheese.
I agree with
Even
that.
you lactose intolerant. So would you be believing this man in this moment as this police officer?
No. Absolutely not. No. I don't know. I don't know if there's a piece of evidence he could show me to make me believe him. Even if there was a hole in his arm. I don't think.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know, Carl. Did you catch the Packers game?
I would bring it back to football, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do. So anyway, Carl may not have been telling the truth.
What?
Which is very interesting. And so what I mean by not telling the truth is him saying that he might not be building this Bosco.
Uh-oh.
Everything that I've seen up until this point, like I'm pretending like I don't know what happens next.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretending like I'm just like you. I'm assuming you don't know what happens next. Everything leads me to believe that it was a very random experience. This thing happened and he's genuine with the police. Like, this is what happened. I have no idea. I'm not going to build this thing, but this is what happened. Could be the occult techniques taking over his brain, though.
Yeah.
Because we're going to see a major shift in Carl here.
There's like a little witch in there changing stuff up.
So over the next couple of weeks, neighbors reported complaints about strange noises coming from Carl's house, specifically his garage. While he may have just gotten away with that in the past, he did literally just tell a wild story to police officers. So whether or not they assumed he was crazy, like you said you would have, they were on his radar.
Yeah.
Or he was on their radar.
Yeah.
Complaints about sounds continued. Neighbors also noted a visitor was accompanying Carl into his garage 3 to 4 days a week.
Oh.
This is top tier neighbor snooping going on here. It reminds me of like the monsters on Maple Street or whatever that episode's called.
Of Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, where it's just like no one starts trusting each other in the town. But I mean, there were no smartphones back then. You had to make your own entertainment.
Listen,
that meant building conspiracies about your neighbors.
Yeah.
You know?
My mother-in-law, she would do this today. She would snoop. I think she has binoculars to watch her neighbors.
I know people that do that.
Yeah.
But the police were not sure that these were just conspiracies. So on a morning in early August, FBI agents actually made an unannounced visit to Carl's place of residence, demanding to be shown what it was that he and this visitor, who was a local named Wilkinson, were working on in the garage. And he was a real local. Like, he had a wife.
Okay. I wonder if he was also chosen.
I don't know if that's the thing. I don't know if he was chosen or if Carl sucked him in. I don't know. And we won't know.
Okay. We can talk about it after.
So, FBI are there. Carl's there. Wilkinson is like, this is not my house. No, just kidding. They're both like, yeah, go ahead. Come on in.
Really?
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
Where's the warrant, guys?
So, weapon or not, to the FBI, it appeared to be nothing more than a, quote, collection of radios and speakers and cables strung together. That's it.
That's pretty great.
So the agents laughed it off, said their goodbyes, and they left Carl and Wilkinson to do their thing.
Yeah.
So it was assumed that with the FBI lurking around, Carl and Wilkinson were like, okay, we can't keep doing the work that we're doing if they're going to keep making these unannounced visits. So on a whim, Carl and Wilkinson decided to leave Wisconsin and go to California.
Okay, I get it.
Because if you want to be a little bit strange, California is probably the place to be.
That's true.
And that's a joke, California people. Don't come after me, even though, is it that much? It's not that much.
It's not that weird.
Plus, the parties and stuff, like, no one's going to hear them hammering and tying cords together. And
yeah, you're awake all hours in California.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Or they're in the desert and no one can hear them.
Right. So, regardless, they make their move and they connect with some ufologists in the area and a couple other UFO researchers and investigation groups. And all was going well until November 10th, 1953. In the early morning, Carl and Wilkinson rented a compact aircraft from a local airstrip. Didn't know they could fly.
Oh, God.
But,
They just said, sure.
And apparently 2 days prior, on November 8th, they had told a few ufology colleagues that they were traveling for a face-to-face meeting with a group of extraterrestrials who were connected to Bosco. They were last seen taking off from the airstrip and headed in a direction that seemed to be towards Palm Springs or Joshua Tree. But no one can be for sure because they never told anyone where they were going or where they were traveling.
Yeah.
I guess Wilkinson's wife is just like, oh, yeah, you can move to California. Oh, yeah, you can fly now. That's fine.
I have a hunch that he didn't ask permission.
Yeah. And that was the last time that anyone had seen Carl or Wilkinson. An emergency services team searched, but they found no bodies, no plane, and no wreckage.
I guess they crashed because they didn't know how to fly a plane?
Well, maybe one of them, just because it wasn't in the story, I don't know the background.
That's an important thing to point out. Don't you?
Maybe Wilkinson could fly.
Maybe.
Maybe that was part of the occult technology.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were
the little witch in his brain.
He had some Matrix downloaded shit into him,
Yeah.
He had a floppy disk shoved in his bicep.
I have a couple ideas.
Do you want to say them now or do you want to save them for the discussion?
I guess I'll save them for the discussion.
Okay. We will save them for the discussion and let's move on to our third and final disappearance story. All right, our third and final story involves Granger Taylor in Duncan, Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. It's 5 locations. Pick one. Duncan, Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. It's 4.
I think British Columbia is like...
It is, yeah.
It's like the Ohio.
Yeah.
And then like the city is something in there.
Duncan,
okay.
So we're in Canada. Taylor, they say that. Trust me, I know now. They say that. Taylor had a very keen ability when it came to constructing and repairing all things mechanical. Shout out my dad. My dad is awesome at building using his hands, and I am not.
That's okay.
No, I'm not. I didn't say it was wrong.
Oh,
I just acknowledging that I can't.
Yeah, I can't do it either. I'm not built like that.
I ain't built like that. Taylor's friends thought of him as a genius and were quick to bring projects, items, cars, anything mechanical his way, and he just seemed to know his way around it. Taylor lived with his mother and his stepfather and technically was an 8th grade dropout, but that never stopped him from growing and continually learning.
Yeah.
He actually liked to think of himself as a mechanical wizard.
That's
pretty
cool.
Dope. Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Cool. Yeah.
Pretty dope. He had a mango bar. Yeah.
He is a
Manna, not manga. You know what I'm talking
You
about.
said manga
I
bar?
said, no, manna bar. It's
Okay.
blue.
Yes.
His source, his like wand is a wrench.
Blue.
Blue.
Or Magicka,
Or
like
purple.
Skyrim.
After dropping out of school, he quickly found a job as a mechanic assistant, and after a year of apprenticeship, Taylor left and started his own thing as a self-employed welder and mechanic, both on cars and heavy machinery. At age 14, he built a single-cylinder automobile, and at 17, he rebuilt a bulldozer that older and more seasoned mechanics had given up on.
Dude, I wish there was something like I love that passionately. That's awesome for him.
To build?
Well,
You don't think you have
something.
any passion that is as tight as his for mechanical stuff?
Not like that. No. That's
Well,
like
like that. I agree. But
I mean, like I have passions.
you got dreams?
I do, but I don't.
You
like,
don't dream, but you got dreams.
That's not like I never knew what I wanted to do. He always knew what he wanted to do, and he
That is, I am envious of that too. At 14, like no matter what,
Yeah.
I was just reading a story, or it was actually a podcast, a clip from a podcast, a teaching podcast, where it was like this guy was failing high school, and he was a teacher on the podcast. He was like, I told him drop out. You want to be an artist, tattoo artist?
Yeah.
He's like, just do that.
Yeah. Just do it.
You're gonna fail.
You don't need education.
You're gonna fail this.
Yeah.
Now, I think there is merit to finishing high school.
Of course. Yeah. There is. There is.
But, sometimes, it's like I'd rather be the person that knows exactly what I want to do at 14 than, what I was 20, 18 and not knowing and just spending money.
Well, my
going to
teacher
school.
professor, he told me a story about this kid that he taught. He was like 17.
Mm-hmm.
He did not care about English at all. He got through it, but that was it. And he was like, I don't really care about this. I'm going to be a pipe fitter like my dad. I'm going to work with him after school. And he's like, that's awesome. That's great. And then they got through the rest of the year. But
I feel like if I was a teacher and I had a student tell me that and like I believed them, like it wasn't like just a cop out.
yeah,
Like they were just playing video games when they got home. Like if it really was, I feel like I'm not a teacher, so I'm not saying I'd give them leniency, but I feel like just as a normal human, I wouldn't be as harsh on them.
yeah,
So I'm
you're
like,
not going to grade that paper as diligently.
Yeah, even though I probably should treat every student the same, but I'm not a teacher, so I don't know how to teach.
That's interesting.
It's all good. Anyways, building 14, the single-cylinder automobile, 17, rebuilding the bulldozer. He was constructing a pretty impressive list of accomplishments for a very young age. As he grew older in his 20s, he also grew pretty large, 6'3" and 240 pounds.
Wow, cool.
His friends closest to him thought of him kind of like a bear of a man and gave him the nickname Gentle Ben because he was still very kind, very sweet man.
You should have played Canadian football.
He didn't. He'd build the football in the stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know where Ben came from.
It's just the bear. Gentle Ben is a bear.
Gentle Ben? Okay. I think if
He's some show from
Gentle
the 70s.
Ben, we should call you Rough Chuck.
I don't
What
think
do you think, Rough Chuck?
I don't think I merit that.
Your spirit animal is a bear.
That's
like,
definitely true. I
Rough
love
Chuck.
bears. Yeah.
Rough Chuck. Gentle Ben.
Gentle Ben.
Rough
More
Chuck.
of a gentle. Oh, no.
So in the early 1970s, Taylor earned his pilot's license and bought a vintage Kitty Hawk warplane, completely restored it. And for 2 years, it was displayed outside a local store on the Island Highway until it was sold to a restorer of vintage aircraft in Manitoba in 1981 for $20,000.
It's not a bad chunk of change.
Not
for someone
bad
who
at
doesn't
all.
have college debt.
Not bad at all. So he moved away from small mechanical devices from his youth to cars and planes, but he eventually grew bored. He mastered these objects, and his brain lusted for learning and growth. More. He wanted more. So, somehow, some way, in his early 30s, he found a new mechanical query that he wanted to solve. How in the world did these alleged UFOs maneuver the way that witnesses claimed? In my opinion, that could be a lot of stress and mental energy on something that may not even be real. Now, me, Tyler, I believe in UFOs. And I know you, Rough Chuck, I know you believe in UFOs. But I guess you have nothing but time. He's working for himself. He's accomplished all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how many stressors he has. But to worry about the mechanical engineering, and I might be using that improperly, but the mechanical makeup of a UFO when you might not even know if they're real it seems a little like...
So to me, it feels like he may not necessarily know if they are real, but he feels like if he could figure that out, he might be able to either prove or disprove it.
His brain needs the challenge. Too.
Yes.
He's looking for that challenge. So that's what he did. He became obsessed with what allowed UFOs to perform these aerial feats and what powered them for their interstellar journeys. So, of course, to begin testing, he needed to find the perfect location. So he built himself a little sanctuary beneath the fir trees, just a short distance away from the house that he lived in with his parents, his mom and his stepdad. During the next couple of years, Taylor tirelessly constructed and welded a life-size flying saucer replica out of spare parts. This included like satellite dishes, television, stuff like just a bunch of random parts.
I mean, replicas is hard to say because, you don't know what it actually looked like.
That is fair. And once constructed, Taylor would spend hours sitting in this makeshift UFO, pondering what powered these machines. At this point, he was even sleeping in this constructed spaceship.
Now we're teetering on obsessed.
Oh, he's obsessed. He knows it. And one nagging roadblock was the fact that Taylor had no connection to the supposed real thing. He had movies, he had books, he had pictures, but whereas he could approach a train or a car or a bulldozer, examine it, touch it, hug it, tangible, he had no access to a real UFO. So Taylor became obsessed with pouring himself over every detail and comment made by UFO eyewitnesses. He entrenched himself in pseudoscientific hypotheses that authors of these books that he was reading would propose. Examples of books that he was reading include Frank Edwards' Flying Saucers, Here and Now, From Outer Space, Black Holes, and What We Really Know About Flying Saucers. The few times a month that Taylor left his little spaceship and socialized with friends, the topic of UFOs and flying saucers was never that far behind.
Of course, yeah.
Full-fledged obsession.
Full disclosure, it's like hanging out with me.
That's not even true. Then, one night, Taylor had somewhat of a breakthrough. He was laying in his makeshift UFO and claimed to have telepathic contact with an extraterrestrial entity who lived far beyond the Milky Way.
Counter of the fifth kind.
Yes, that's the communication, yeah. Of course, this was difficult for Taylor to prove, but he truly believed it. Here's a quote from one of his friends, Nielsen. Quote, he said it happened when he was in bed. He lay there and got mental communications with somebody from another galaxy. He couldn't see them. I said, they can't just be mental. But he said it was like they were talking just to him and to his mind. He was asking questions about the means for powering their crafts. The only thing they would tell him is that it was magnetic. Unquote. So a few days later, Taylor told Nielsen that the telepathic voice had visited him again, and this time, the alien invited Taylor to go on a trip through the solar system. Taylor was giddy with excitement while telling his friend this news. Nielsen was confused and concerned, but was a good sport, remained supportive of his friend, and asked when this trip was going to occur. So Taylor said that he would not be informed with more details until the end of the month as to where the pick-up point would be. All he knew was that it was going to be a 42-month interstellar voyage and that he couldn't wait.
Wow.
So here's another quote from Nielsen. Quote, everyone thought the trip was just a dream, but nobody entirely discounted his stories. He was such an unusual sort of guy. Quote.
Yeah.
So, what are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking, one, he's in contact with aliens. I wonder if it's the same ones that visited Japan. Those little starfish guys.
Oh, with Fujiya.
I do not remember his name.
Yoshiharu?
I do not recall. Yes.
Yoshihiro.
Yoshihiro. I wonder if it's the same one of the same ones. I'm also wondering if he needs to speak to a professional and maybe get some medication or something.
Just mental health.
Yes. I wonder if that's something we need to address.
Yeah.
So both those.
I understand why Nielsen wouldn't bring something like that up, though. It's a weird thing to say to a friend, you know. And I think he probably thinks at this point humoring him isn't the worst.
Could be safer. Honestly.
I have friends that humor. I'll be honest. You know, it's kind of like, you know, if you got nitty gritty and real with your friend every time they said something that alarmed you, You might
Yeah.
not have a lot of friends. Not that makes you a good or a bad friend either
But
way.
he's been obsessing with this for a while at this point.
I think they're just like, that's Gentle Ben. Like, that's what he does.
I don't know.
It'd be weird if it was Ben Gentle, you know? It sounds bad when you put it backwards.
Ben Gentle?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the bear's name. The bear's name is Gentle Ben.
It's almost like gentleman, right? Like gentleman.
I guess.
Gentleman.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if it was Ben Gentle, it'd sound weird. Also, it's just like, you know when you like plug your headset into like your controller?
Yeah.
And you're talking to someone else?
Yeah.
You're like, how am I actually talking to you? Like, I have my headset plugged into my controller that's not plugged into anything.
Right.
And you have your headset plugged into your controller that's not plugged into anything.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing you talk. So it's like, it's take that and and there's someone out there that can explain it. And don't let it be a mystery. There's somebody out, you know, take that and multiply it by like 500,000. And that's imagining that I'm hearing someone from a different galaxy.
Yeah.
Like they're not even in the Milky Way. Like, because they talk about the speed of light. That's like, this guy told me this like a million years ago, and I'm hearing it now.
It's
like, I'm just going to shout in this direction, and I know in 100 million years, the person I need to hear this.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
I know that's not how this works.
That's kind of what we're doing with radio rays right now.
Yeah,
that's really happening.
We're sending stuff out there.
All the time. All the time.
All the time. It's our favorite activity.
Well,
I want to be that guy for NASA.
Well, it just always happens.
What do you want to say? Once millennials are in charge of that, it's just going to be a lot of ha-has. Is anyone there? LOL?
LOL.
Where are you? Haha.
We're lonely. Haha.
Emoji.
Well, but they're getting like morning shows and stuff from the 90s.
That's pretty cool.
Just going.
That in sync is very good.
Bye.
So, about a week after his first telepathic message, Taylor took Nielsen and a few other friends out for a night on the town. It was kind of understood that this was his going away party. So on Friday, November 28th, Taylor approached Jim, his stepfather, in his bedroom and had a lengthy talk with him. It was a heartfelt discussion about how much he appreciated everything that his stepfather did for his mother, everything that they did for him, and just sincere gratitude for their support. Jim was appreciative of this talk, but naturally was like, what's going on? Like, like, that's cool.
Are you dying?
It's nice to hear. Yeah, it's like, is everything good? But, you know, he didn't go into it further. And he had no idea that would be the last time that he would ever talk to his stepson. Taylor would have done the same thing with his mother, but apparently she was out on a vacation in Hawaii, and this was her first vacation that she had taken in a very, very long time. Yeah. So he was happy for her. There's no resentment. Mm-hmm. It was like, I would talk to her, but she's gone. I guess I'm not going to call her.
Yeah.
But there was no ill will. It was just kind of like, she's not here, so I'm not going to do this thing. So without the knowledge of his parents or friends, Taylor prepared 2 wills. I don't know why there's 2, but with detailed instructions as to how his parents should distribute his possessions. Interestingly, the word deceased was scratched out on the will only to replace by the word departed. He also left a note which read, quote, "Dear mother and father, I've gone away to walk aboard an alien ship as recurring dreams assured a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, then return. I'm leaving behind all my possessions to you, as I will no longer require the use of any. Please use the instructions in my will as a guide to help. Love, Granger." Unquote. On the opposite side of the letter was a contour map of Waterloo Mountain, which was located some 20 miles west of their property. One of the last times Taylor was seen was about 6 p.m. He stopped at a local restaurant, Bob's Grill, for dinner. The last person to come forward and admit seeing Taylor was a woman who was working in the grill's kitchen by the name of Linda Barron. Barron would later tell authorities that she'd seen him enter and dine by himself, but was unable to recall if anyone had tried to engage Taylor in conversation. She did remember what he was wearing, especially considering that, as bright as everyone knew he wasn't prepared for this oncoming storm that all these locals knew about. She remembered that he wore a brown knitted sweater zipped up front, a black t-shirt, jeans, and boots. He didn't have his winter coat, though. Strangely, Jim discovered the coat a couple days later inside this doghouse that Granger had built for his Newfoundland dog, Lady. Barron then testified that Taylor paid his bill and left the restaurant at about 6:30, just as the storm was starting to tear through the area and the neighboring cities. That same night, hurricane-force winds were reported, and power lines were down throughout Duncan and the surrounding area, just completely making the entire area dark, windy, bad news.
Wow.
By dawn the next day, the citizens of Duncan were picking up debris left behind from the storm, but they were also whispering about a rumor that was spreading through the town, that Granger Taylor had vanished off the face of the earth. Understandably concerned about his stepson's situation and his mental state, kind of like you're referring to, Jim contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in order to help find his son. They responded immediately, but after what Corporal Mike Demchuk described as an exhaustive check of hospital, passport, employment, and vehicle records, not a single clue as to Taylor's whereabouts could be discovered. And according to Corporal Demchuk, quote, Taylor's name had been put on the National Police computer system, and the motor vehicle branch in Victoria had been alerted in case Taylor's driver license, which expired in October, is renewed. Unquote. After Taylor had been gone for more than 4 years, Corporal Demchuk admitted that what perplexed him the most regarding this unusual case was the fact that the 1972 Datsun pickup truck that Taylor had likely used to travel to his space rendezvous was still missing.
Oh.
Here's a quote from him, Corporal Demchuk. Quote, one would expect the car to at least be found. You just don't get rid of something that large without someone knowing about it. So, a final note about the area. Apparently, and I don't want to go too much into this because I truly think this might actually be an episode another day. There is other UFO history in this area. But on New Year's Eve in 1969, just a few miles away from where Taylor's home was, apparently a nurse at a local hospital claimed to see a Saturn-shaped UFO with 2 aliens inside. So...
What?
There's some history in this area.
That's so interesting.
No truck is found. Taylor's gone, and unfortunately, it was much longer than... Maybe it was like 42 alien years. Or months.
Months, yeah.
42 alien months.
How long
Maybe
is
he'll
42
come
months?
back.
Is that a couple of years?
What?
How long is 42 months?
Well, 12, 24, 36. So it's 3 years and like 6 months.
Yeah, okay.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll be back in like 15 years.
I don't think so.
He's on the Matthew McConaughey.
Do you think he got sucked up by the hurricane? As we talk about that in
discussion. That's
discussion.
the if you don't think it was aliens, that's the theory.
Yeah.
But that is our final story. Let's get to the discussion. All right, Charlie. Rough Chuck. We got 3 stories. We got Frederick.
Yeah. I got some thoughts, man.
Who went crawfish hunting and never came back. Had a spaceship flying over top of him.
That's so creepy.
We have Carl, who saw a ball of light turn into a man in a suit, inject occult techniques, occult techniques in his arm, and was not building the Bosco, and then flew off to meet with aliens who knew Bosco. And then we got Granger Taylor, who mechanical wizard, built a UFO, wanted to know how it worked, got contacted by an alien, threw a party for himself, and then apparently
went away.
I
cannot stop seeing in my little mind the image of a Miss Frizzle-sized witch being injected into this guy's arm and just flying through his body, controlling things.
Does she have little children with her too?
Yeah, she has to. She's teaching them about the body as well. Yeah, and she's just kind of like piloting his brain. Yeah.
It was a very stark 180. Like, even for me reading it the first time, like, I truly believed that he was like, this is so weird.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously not going to build this thing. I'm just letting you guys know what happened. This is crazy. And then it's like almost immediately, it's like, I'm building stuff in my garage. I'm going to start hanging out randomly with this guy who's going to come over my house 4 days a week.
Yeah.
We're going to just up and move to California, become involved in the ufology communities, and then leave.
I do feel like we're jumping in the gun a little bit. We should talk about Fred first.
Yeah. Okay, so Fred, he's got a girlfriend, Rhonda. He wants to be a pilot. He's kind of a pilot. He's not a great pilot.
He's a pilot.
He's not a commercial pilot, but he's a pilot. He tells his girlfriend, I'm going to go get some crawfish.
Yeah.
He tells the airport that he's meeting some people there, and they're going to all get, well, I don't even know. I don't know if he said crawfish to them.
To the airport. He didn't say that. He just said I'm picking up some passengers.
He calls the airport and tells him that
the one guy,
there's somebody following us. Roby. He talks to Roby. He's like, there's another plane out here. What's up with that?
Crikey.
He's like, I don't know.
And the other guy's like, crikey.
And then he's like, it's kind of like a cigar shaped thing, where it's like a long thing, metallic, glowing green. And then he calls back 10 minutes later. He's like, it's over top of me. And then it just ends with 17 seconds of a metallic sound. And
that's so scary.
Is
that the black box crashing, you think?
The black box?
Yeah, the black box in an airplane, so you find where it is.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Those are typically the things that hold the recordings as well. Black box.
I don't know, dude. I mean, the last one isn't plane. I guess that's the one that deviates, even though he built a ship.
Yeah.
But, it deviates. But these could all, the wonderful thing about this, even though they're all tragic, but the wonderful thing about this is that you can make an argument for aliens for all these, and you can really just make arguments for crash planes and a hurricane.
Mm-hmm. Like, you really could. But I like to think the first guy was like totally abducted. He was one of those. When did it take place?
In the 50s.
He was one of those first ones where that was part of the deal with Roosevelt.
Oh,
yeah. I think he was part of the deal.
I'll give you this Australian crawfish.
Yeah. Well, crawfish man. And
he's like, you can do whatever you want, just don't do it here. Go to Australia.
I said, okay. And they took him. They just took his plane up. Maybe they compacted it.
Well, it could have been wanting to observe the plane, like not just capturing a person, but it's like, let's capture the technology,
the vehicle.
Yeah,
maybe it's like observing, like how like archaeologists like go through like old things and like learn things through looking at the old things.
My wife thrift shops.
Yes, or like thrift shopping. Yes.
I don't believe that he knew about it. I don't believe that he had any prior contact with an alien.
Oh yeah, that was a theory that I floated.
Yeah, I don't think he had bad intentions. I think he may have lied to someone about his true reason for going there.
Yeah,
but I don't think it was ill intention. I think it was either like it was going to be a surprise for the anniversary.
I think
there was something going on that he was being a little sneaky about, and it was just wrong place, wrong time.
I think so too.
Bad juju.
Maybe it's like get in front of a great white shark. Like he didn't mean to do that, but the shark ate him anyway.
Didn't punch in the nose. So for this story, Frederick's story.
Yeah.
On our believability scale, which is believable, viable, skeptical, and unbelievable. Believable being it was aliens and he really disappeared.
Yeah.
Unbelievable being plane crash or he hated his life. He's living one with the crawfish now.
Yeah.
Where do you land with Frederick?
Are you surprised I'm going to go full believable?
No.
I'm going to go full believable on this.
I'm going to go viable. I think there's a chance he crashed. That's because one of my thoughts was like, is there any chance that it's just such a dramatic of a crash that nothing... I feel like there'd be something floating.
I do too.
But I lean that way. I go viable.
Yeah.
Our second story, Carl wakes up, sees a ball of light, turns into a man, injection, Bosco.
Yes.
Wilkinson. What are your thoughts?
I have many thoughts.
Oh, yeah. Is this what you were writing about?
Yes.
Okay. Lay it on me. Lay it on the listeners.
So first thought I had, Wilkinson, Carl were gay? Maybe. It's a thought. Maybe they have met before this and they decided to hang out and they kind of, maybe that's what the noises were when they're in the garage. Maybe they're having an affair. Just a thought.
I think if you wanted to completely get people off your trail, like you just got to go bizarro. You know what I mean? Like
telling the police a man showed up in your house?
Yeah, like the glowing ball of light turning into a man. Like, just make it give him every opportunity to be like, yeah, they're crazy and they left.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no background on Wilkinson where he came from, so we can't.
You said he had a wife and kids, though.
He had a wife. I don't know if he had kids.
Okay, he had a wife.
But I mean, maybe. I mean, it could have been a huge ruse just to be like, this story is going to sound so over the top that they won't question it.
That's possibly. It was a thought I had. But also, maybe maybe he was attacked by a man in his bed that night.
This is coping.
Well, maybe in a sense, like maybe he was ejected with some kind of drugs before he even really registered what was going on. That's why he froze. That's why he saw the ball of lightning turn into a man. And they look down and you see that he to see that he had been injected with something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what happened to him. And that's where this... Now, I'm not going to account for the rest of his behavior.
Well, but he might have believed that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, even if that's not what happened, he might have believed that. And if you look at history of cults and things like that, it's not that hard to find people to follow you.
Right.
Wilkinson was just one that he kind of captured.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you think it's just a random mystery that their plane crashed and wasn't found?
That's the other idea behind it. Like, they did end up moving to California because either they worked together or he was following him in some kind of leadership role.
But in your theory, they didn't find the plane.
Right.
So do you think they just crashed in the... I mean, it's a large world. It's a very large world. But, I mean, typically, eventually, they find planes.
We have no idea where they went. We
just know a direction.
They think they went that one way. Maybe they pivoted halfway through there. We have no idea where they went.
Just want to go get high in Joshua Tree.
Maybe they went north eventually. I don't know where Joshua Tree is.
Is this the theory you believe the most? Like, you believe that more than it was aliens?
Yes, I do, actually. I mean, but also it could be just completely real. Maybe there was this man who transformed from lightning.
Well, kind of like Men in Black.
Yeah. And then what if Wilkinson was another person that was visited by this thing and they were like told to like join forces, make this thing together.
Mm-hmm.
Make the
You're the boss. You're
Bosco
the boss.
bomb. Yeah.
And you're the co.
Yeah.
Boss and co. Yeah, it's like company. It's like Bosco.
And like they let the feds check the garage because they knew that they had disguised the bomb. Like they like really pressed a button after the feds left.
It wasn't a bomb.
What was it?
It was a weapon, but it wasn't a bomb.
But they disguised the weapon, right? So they press a button after they left and it just like descends from the ceiling. And it's just like, yeah. I think it's probably the first thing.
I think they were not in the right state of mind.
I agree with that.
They were in the right state, and then they weren't in the right state of mind. And I don't know the logistics enough of like, out of every plane crash, how many are never discovered? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know those type of logistics.
I don't either.
Like, it seems like when you have no idea where someone's going, like if you knew they were going to Joshua Tree or, you know, something like that, Palm Springs. Like, if you knew that's where they were going,
right,
then you could look at that path and see. But, I mean, they didn't tell the colleagues. They were just like, yeah, we're going to go meet with aliens face to face, you know?
Right.
So,
like, I'm watching Lost right now. Great old show. But, like, one of the main plot points is why they haven't been found is, like...
Because then it'd be called Found.
Well, yes.
You can't have the name of the show Lost.
But they tell, like, in the earlier episodes, they're like... They didn't know that we were on this path to get to this island. Like, they didn't think we were here. They're not going to find us.
Yeah. I think it's possible. I like that. I kind of like that you're in Skepticville with me. It's actually a little crowded in here in Skepticville. Like,
not in the first.
I can make room with you.
Not the first story, but
I didn't make any coffee. I hope it's all right.
Yeah.
Make yourself comfortable.
I'm going to have to.
Do you go skeptical?
I do.
Yes, I agree. Wild if aliens. And there is a Men in Black theme with it for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know, this brotherhood thing.
It just seems fishy.
Even if he wasn't actually attacked and it was a dream, like a lucid dream or like sleep paralysis dream or something like that. Not sleep paralysis like the hag, but just like an altered
state of reality, yeah.
I think they could still hold the weight like everything else. Like he could believe it. He could get Wilkinson involved, you know. All right, so our final story, Granger Taylor, mechanical guru wizard,
genius,
gets a little telepathic message like, hey, you want to go on a little trip through the solar system? It's like, it's going to take us a minute to get to your solar system, but once we're there, we'll pick you up, go get a moon rock in Saturn, have a good time.
Man, I hate being this negative about it, but I think he just needs some mental help with his mental health.
Yeah, it's kind of like the idle brain, right? Like he was bored. He was looking for a challenge. He was obsessed to the point where he was sleeping in there, and it's kind of like his like he got what he wanted. Yeah, he it was kind of like
did he manifest that, or like did his brain let him think that?
It would be a lot less suspicious if he didn't leave when there was like hurricane-like winds. Yeah. I admit the truck not being found is interesting.
Yeah, but what if it was just stolen?
Yeah, I guess. Like he left it somewhere and then someone else was like, oh, free truck.
Yeah, exactly.
GTA this shit.
Probably left the keys in there.
In his state of mind. Yeah, he probably was like, I don't need these keys anymore. I'm going to walk on this hilltop and just sit here where there's no wind coverage.
Yeah. But I do think...
And then a big gentle Ben found him and was like putting on his little bib and was like, okay.
Trying to be a rough
You don't
job.
got to tell me twice. Yeah.
But I was thinking, he had a good point, though. What does power alien ships? We have no idea.
Apparently magnets.
Well, I was thinking that maybe the periodic table is not complete. Like, we don't know we have all the elements.
Do they think it's complete?
I think they do think that, but I don't think we can be sure. Like, the Earth is just such a small sample size of the universe. And to me, I think it's a little arrogant to think we have a little bit of everything.
I think that's true, but it is also mind-blowing to me that, like, when the comets come by, like, they'll tell you what color it is based on what it's mostly made of.
Right.
And that blows my mind that, like, because almost, like...
Well, if it's red, it's iron, right?
I mean, the universe is the universe, and we are made of the universe. So it shouldn't blow my mind that asteroids and things are made of the same thing that we have here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, that's ours. Like, yo, you too? You have iron and nickel? No way. You know, but I agree. It's like, it's so vast. There easily could be elements out there.
Like, there are elements that we made because forces on Earth hadn't made them. Like Einsteinium.
Yeah.
That's something that we made.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We, like, and even if it doesn't naturally occur, it doesn't mean, you know, I guess you need a couple things that we have that we don't have that naturally occur. But
right.
Like, I guarantee aliens don't have enriched bread. They don't got that white bread.
They might.
They don't have Wonder Bread. No, they don't. They're like, what is that? Like,
gotta give me some of that.
They don't have frozen broccoli, Charlie. They're like you. Spoiled. Living fresh.
Yeah. But overall, I think it's just, I do hope it was aliens. I hope he went on some trip. But I don't think it's what it is.
I go unbelievable on this one, actually.
Dude,
I don't think
it's weird being on the exact same
Are
page
you
as
going
me.
unbelievable?
I am.
Yo, Charlie
This is weird.
like,
I don't think it's what
welcome,
happened.
my friend.
But the
These
first
are
one,
alien
100%,
stories, too.
First one is 100% believable.
I'm going to go viable on that one.
Yeah. But you know what the difference is, though? The last two, the latter, they both seem to have some kind of break mentally. The first guy, he didn't have that. He was just going flying. So that's the big difference for me.
So that is our episode, Mysterious Disappearances, Volume 1. And let me just say, it opens the door for more, but also, I don't anticipate every single one of these episodes always being like flying in aliens.
No, I think that's just how this happened.
I would like more. People got lost in the woods, or like, because then it kind of lends itself to like time travel or time loops, things like that, which is exciting, and I was kind of looking for.
A lot of times that does lean into aliens, though.
It does, and I have no problem with that. But
Right,
it just like the first two were so similar in ways, and I was just like, this is wild. But, you know, and let us know kind of when we talk to the top, because some of the disappearances do lend themselves to the true crime nature of things. And I think there's much overlap between true crime and paranormal, but we don't typically cross that bridge. And that's okay.
I do also want to point out mental health is very important. It's something that you should take. If Marcus Parks always says, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
That's what people I listen to say too.
Yeah, it's a good phrase.
I think because you and I lean so heavily on the entertainment factor of this podcast, we tend to give benefit of the doubt. Even when we go unbelievable, you know, during the storytelling, we get benefit of the doubt. I think there's a lot of paranormal things that could lend themselves to mental health. But for the nature of this podcast, like, we're not giving self-help.
No.
We're not trying to heal anyone or help anyone or give anyone resources. So I'll just be honest, the lens that I look through these stories, I typically don't go mental health, even though I think it is a valid.
I think I'm on the same page. Because you're right. This is an escape for us, for everyone listening. Hopefully,
I mean, some people can't escape mental health, and we also acknowledge that as well. But it's a good point, because was it Cursed Games, or was it? No, it was
recently.
Felix. People were claiming it was mental health.
Yeah,
and I think that's fair.
Maybe
I think it was Felix. Did you see that on Spotify?
I remember that.
I think they're totally valid points. But we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate the reviews on Apple, the 5-star reviews. We appreciate all of the fun comments and thoughts. And do you guys actually read these? Yes, we do. They only get published if we let them go through.
That's true.
So I promise you we're reading them. And if you are enjoying the podcast and you're all caught up, like we were mentioning at the top, we do have a Patreon. We have a quiz. I quizzed Charlie about this episode before we recorded it right now. That'd be silly if I didn't yet. He probably would win.
Probably get an A, honestly.
We've all had those classes. Did you have a class? where they literally gave you the study guide, which is like the questions?
Yes, and I've done well and I've done not well.
I've had a history class.
I was not a good student.
I had a history class that literally gave me the test beforehand. Like you would have the test, you just have to memorize.
Was it hard? Was it hard?
No, it was all memorization. I'm decent at memorization. It's part of being an actor. You know.
Do you remember any of it now?
No.
Well,
no. It's knowing versus understanding.
Well, there's a whole Bloom's taxonomy thing about that whole situation. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first level.
I knew it, but I didn't understand it. The older I get, the more I'm interested in understanding versus knowing.
That's true. You mentioned people can leave Spotify reviews, and we read them.
That is true.
What's some of the stuff they said last time?
Let's see what folks were saying in our last episode, which just so happened to be the illustrious Curse Games Part 4. Oh, also, while I'm looking at this, I don't know if y'all remember, but we made the poll.
I'm still shocked.
Which story, and there's time for it to change, although by the time you listen to this, the poll will be
locked
closed.
In. Yeah.
But as of right now, 61% of you are agreeing with me that the Red Book was that story, not the game. The story that was attached. The Red Book was more believable, and 38% of you are wrong.
I don't.
Just kidding. So here are some of the comments we got on that. Jessica says, loved it. I loved all the Cursed Game episodes. These ones are definitely the most unbelievable, though. Fab episode. Andrew said, the 11-mile game can't be real. How can you drive a mile with eyes closed? No.
That's
unbelievable.
We had too.
Red Book would be fun. Emo Cackerel said, I was confused on what the Red Book is required to look like. Would it not be usable in a game if it had its name on the spine? Would the logo of the publishing company count as a picture of the book? I think those are great questions. And then finally, Jesus Blanco says, Wilbur was the name of the pig in Charlotte's Web, not Babe.
Yeah, I heard about
I loved the book.
Yeah.
As a kid, I hated how it ended.
I don't remember how it ended. I think, didn't Wilbur get sent to market? I don't remember.
I don't know. But we appreciate the comments. We enjoy them. It's nice because, like, Apple, you get the comment as a whole on the podcast.
Yeah.
Spotify, it's just so much more direct and specific, and you can comment multiple times.
I like when they critique my whole personality. That doesn't hurt at all. It's really nice.
We haven't gotten a bad one in a minute, so
yeah,
you can sleep well tonight. But again, like I was saying, we have a Patreon, tons of bonus content, quizzes, games, merch, theatrical readings, director's cuts, video content, extra bizarre news if you like those. It's all over there, and it helps support the podcast, and it means a lot to us. So thank you, everybody, for listening to the podcast. It's going to go trademark Rough Chuck. As always, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre.
A podcast as bizarre as you are.